Right now, Madison residents are protesting ICE after a man was shot and killed in Minneapolis by federal agents. We'll take you there. Also, UW-Madison Chancellor Jennifer Mnuchin is leaving the university. We'll tell you where she's headed next. Plus, a bill to cut taxes on tips is heading to Governor Evers' desk. How it would work. That's all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. Tonight, Alex Peretti, a man that went to high school right here in Wisconsin, was shot and killed by ICE agents in Minneapolis on Saturday. Right now, Minnesota leaders and federal government officials remain at odds over who's responsible for that shooting. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara described the frustration of people in Minnesota today on Face the Nation. He says the current situation in Minneapolis isn't sustainable. But during a Sunday press conference, Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Gregory Bavina defended ICE agents and their actions. In the meantime, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is asking the public which side of the case they choose to be on.
What side do you want to be on? The side of an all-powerful federal government that can kill, injure, menace, and kidnap its citizens off the streets? Or on the side of a nurse at the VA hospital who died bearing witness to such government?
Peretti's parents spoke out about their son on social media, calling him a hero and maintaining he was not holding a gun at the time of the shooting. Peretti's shooting has led to intense reaction nationwide, including right here in Madison, where protesters took their opinions to the Capitol. Our Nash Dara shares more.
Jalen, this was the second fatal ICE shooting in weeks in Minneapolis, just 18 days after the death of Renee Good.
Well, like a lot of people here, I'm angry, I'm dismayed, I'm sad. I think it just helps to be with other people. It just helps to do something to say, hey, you're going to have to come through us if you want to attack Minnesota, if you want to attack Portland, if you want to come to Madison, we're going to be here. I don't know that we can affect change. We have Democrats who are not leading. We have Republicans who are doing whatever Trump wants them to do. It feels powerless, but at least we're together doing something.
It is yet another large protest outside of our state's capital. Participants standing in solidarity with objection to ICE occupation across the country.
It's pretty cool to see everybody here. We're here to restore our democracy, not save it. It's gone. We're trying to restore it.
Hundreds of protesters fought off the cold in unity this afternoon, displaying their disapproval for actions of border control officers across the United States, but specifically in Minnesota.
The big issue here really is fundamental democratic rights. Do we have the right to protest? Do we have the right to document ICE? And we've seen over the past 2 weeks now, 2 people have been murdered by ICE simply for documenting their actions.
Jalen, the aftermath of the shooting yesterday led to political reaction in our state, with local government officials sharing their thoughts of the incident on social media. In a brief statement, Governor Tony Evers simply said, "Wisconsin stands with Minnesota." And Republican Congressman Derek Van Orden said Democrats must stop their rhetoric that has incited this type of violence against our federal law enforcement officers.
Nash, thank you. Other protesters who gathered today shared feelings of fear, saying it is only a matter of time before ICE comes to Madison and similar encounters occur here. But for now, we're going to go ahead and switch gears. It has been freezing the last few days. Hopefully a warm-up is on the way. Blaze, what should we expect?
Well, there is a warm-up, but it does not arrive until really Tuesday. Southwesterly winds will take over tomorrow, but they're going to stay out of the northwest tonight and remain breezy. And that's the reason why we have another round of cold weather advisories in effect at the bottom of your screen. Also, you can check online any and all the school delays that we have ahead of that cold start to Monday. Let's take a look at what we could be experiencing as we are waking up on Monday. I'll take it back to about 7 o'clock when we'll likely experience the coldest of the wind chills, 25 to 35 degrees below zero. Clear skies tonight, some still fresh snow on the ground, breezy northwesterly winds. All of that is going to make for those cold wind chills once again as we head overnight into the start of Monday. Already feeling about, I would say, 15 to 20 degrees below zero out there, and it's only going to get colder. So, Jalen, I mentioned that there is a warm-up on the horizon when the warmer air arrives, how warm we get, and if it's going to last this time in the full forecast.
All right, sounds good, Blaze. Looking forward to hearing about that one. And as always, you can track the forecast on the First One weather app. It is hourly planners, weather conditions, and even radar. You can download it for free in your phone's app store. Just search WISC Weather. University of Wisconsin-Madison Chancellor Jennifer Mnuchin has been selected as Columbia University's next president. Columbia initially launched their search for a president in the spring of last year. Mnuchin being made president would mark the Ivy League school's fourth since 2023. Back at home, Mnuchin was named as UW-Madison Chancellor in late 2022. At the time, the officials said that UW System Board of Regents voted unanimously to approve her. Police say an early morning shooting that killed one on Madison's south side may have been targeted. Officers headed to Primrose Lane near the Madison Mobile Home Parks and the Ridge Apartments just around 3:30 a.m. Upon arrival, they found a person with a gunshot wound. They gave him aid immediately, but unfortunately, he died at the scene. As of this afternoon, no arrests have been made. Police say nearby residents should expect increased police presence as the investigation continues. If you have any information about the shooting, please call the number on your screen or submit a tip online at p3tips.com. Officials are reporting a Mauston man was arrested in Indiana as part of his father's homicide. Wednesday of last week, Jacob Sanders was pulled over in West Indiana near Terre Haute, about 6 hours from Austin, for turning without signaling. Indiana officials allegedly observed possible blood on Jacob's hands during the stop. He was additionally driving his father's vehicle. Officials then contacted Juneau County to conduct a welfare check in Mauston. At around 4:15 that day, they found Michael Sanders, Jacob's father, dead at a residence on East State Street near Willow's Motel in Mauston. A homicide investigation began immediately, and Jacob was placed in custody back in Indiana. There, he's facing charges of theft, criminal conversion, and driving without a license. In the meantime, extradition charges and proceedings back in Wisconsin are pending. An arrest warrant has been issued against him for first-degree intentional homicide with domestic abuse modifiers, along with other charges. An autopsy of his father, Michael, was completed Thursday. Officials say results from that autopsy will be used in the ongoing investigation. Records show Jacob has an initial court appearance in Indiana scheduled for Tuesday. In Beaver Dam, the fire department says one person was evaluated for smoke inhalation following a Saturday evening fire. Firefighters arrived on the scene at the Wyndham Townhomes in South Lincoln Avenue after 6:50 p.m. following reports of a stove fire. Police had attempted to control the fire before their arrival with a portable fire extinguisher. Fire crews were able to fully extinguish the fire. No other injuries were reported, and the cause of the fire is under investigation. A bill to cut taxes on tips is heading to the governor's desk. Roughly 90,000 Wisconsinites rely on tips as part of their pay. The bill passed the Senate this week and the Assembly last Thursday. It would mirror the federal bill that allows you to deduct up to $25,000 on reported tips. But Democrats argue that the real solution would be to raise Wisconsin's minimum wage, which is at the federal minimum.
Minimum wage should be higher, Madam President. It should be much higher than $7.25. But alas, that's where we're stuck at federally, among the lowest in the country. So if we decided to move it up, we have a slate of different options.
We were one step closer to eliminating taxes on tipped wages for hardworking Americans with this language before us today. So I just want to say, you know, obviously you can talk to those in the service industry out in your own communities, but this is clearly about affordability.
The bill would remain in effect through 2028. Now, the Packers have found their next defensive coordinator. Senior Packers writer Jason Wilde breaks down the next man to lead Micah Parsons and company.
Thanks, Jalen. Yes, the Packers have their new defensive coordinator. He is Jonathan Gannon, the former Arizona Cardinals head coach. Now, he did go 15-36 during his 3 years in Arizona, including 3-14 this past season, leading to him getting fired. But he was one of the top defensive coordinators in the league in 2021 and 2022 with the Philadelphia Eagles when the Eagles reached the Super Bowl. He was the fourth person to interview for the job after Al Harris, Christian Parker, and Durante Jones. Now, the one question Matt LaFleur surely will face in this decision is why he didn't wait until former Badgers defensive coordinator and interim head coach Jim Leonhard was available for an interview. He will be available tomorrow after the Broncos played in the AFC Championship game. So that is one question Matt LaFleur will have to answer when we talk to him. In the meantime, Jonathan Gannon is your new defensive coordinator, replacing Jeff Hafley, who is now the head coach in Miami. More on this story and everything else Packers on our website, channel3000.com. And while you're there, you can sign up for the Packers newsletter, which delivers our coverage to your inbox every single day. In Green Bay, Jason Wilde, channel3000.com.
Our K-Racine will have more of that in sports. But coming up next on News 2 Now at 10, Blaze returns with a complete look of your first one forecast. Plus, more reactions pouring in over the latest death by the hands of ice in Minneapolis. And a winter storm continues to slam much of the U.S. We take a look after the break.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10. Moving forward.
Thank you for staying with us. Former President Barack Obama called the latest fatal shooting by federal officers in Minneapolis a, quote, wake-up call for Americans. He also condemned ICE tactics in Minnesota. President Trump, however, is defending his administration's actions. CBS's William James Inman is at the White House.
We did not see the president today, but he was active on social media, calling on Democratic governors and mayors to cooperate with the federal government. Earlier, he complained about efforts to stop his building of a big ballroom. In another post, he focused on what he called massive financial fraud in Minnesota. It was Saturday that he addressed this latest fatal shooting, writing, "Let our ICE patriots do their job." He also accused the mayor of Minneapolis and governor of Minnesota of inciting insurrection. The administration's immigration crackdown in Minnesota is now entering its 9th week. Its stated goal was to apprehend criminals, but there's growing uproar over ICE tactics, and administration claims without evidence that the latest shooting victim, Alex Preddy, was a domestic terrorist. This past week, Vice President J.D. Vance visited the state, doubling down on the administration's actions. At the same time, and this image of a detained 5-year-old boy dominated media coverage of the crackdown nationwide. And tonight, Senate Democrats say they've seen enough. They're now saying they don't support a vote to fund DHS this fiscal year without additional restrictions on ICE. With funding set to expire Friday, a partial government shutdown could follow.
And there may be some good news on the flu front. New data shows the season may have peaked. The CDC says the metrics it uses to measure flu activity, including hospitalizations and trips to the doctor, all trended down last week. However, a good chunk of the country is still reporting moderate to very high flu activity. The CDC estimates there have been 19 million cases of the flu this season, and roughly 250,000 people had to be hospitalized. Approximately 10,000 deaths have been reported, including 44 children. A powerful winter storm is pounding a large swath of the U.S., and it's bringing in ice, frigid temperatures, and widespread power outages for hundreds of thousands of Americans. Thousands of flights were canceled today, and the storm is expected to last until Monday, according to the National Weather Service, raising the chance of dangerous travel conditions for several more days. CBS News correspondent Chanel Call is in New York, where the snow has been falling since early Sunday.
The winter storm pounded dozens of states from Texas into New England Sunday.
This is really crazy. I can barely even see. I was thinking I needed to bring some goggles or something.
Crews spent the day working on the massive cleanup efforts to take some of the danger out of leaving the house.
The snow just keep coming down harder and harder. No matter how you push the snow, it just keep coming.
In Dallas, an extreme cold warning was set to remain in effect through Tuesday. Amid downed trees and icy roads, several counties in Kentucky reported widespread power outages.
That's our number one job right now is plow till we get to the trees, and then we got to use chainsaws and cut them up and get them out of the way.
In New York, this taxi driver says he worked through the storm because he likes to help others.
Today is a very dangerous, but I'm driving I make some money, and people is a lot of in the street because they want to cab.
New York City schools have also been shut down on Monday as the city pivots to remote learning for the day. While the snow is causing countless problems, some are making the most of it.
It's just the best thing ever. I love it.
Including these families who went sledding near the U.S. Capitol. Chanel Call, CBS News, New York.
Heavy snowfall was forecast from the Ohio Valley to the northeast, while catastrophic ice accumulation threatened from the lower Mississippi Valley to the mid-Atlantic and the southeast. Now, we may not necessarily be that be seeing that type of snow. However, it's still pretty cold here. Blaze, what should we expect as we enter the work week?
That's right. You know, when we got as cold as we did, that was indicative of just how far south this cold air, this latest Arctic push would get. And that's the reason why parts of the United States, as we just showed you, are dealing with some of that ice and some of that historic snow, because that Arctic air not only sat over us, but it pushed its way further to the south. Now, it has moved east for the most part, but we're still going to be dealing with some cooler temperatures as we head into Monday, which is why we'll keep those alert day conditions into Monday morning for wind chills that could be between 15 to 30, 35 degrees below zero. Cold weather advisory in effect for all of our coverage area until noon on Monday. And again, at the bottom of your screen or on our website, you can get the latest when it comes to school delays. As expected, they started to come in this evening, and we may get some overnight into the start of Monday, so make sure you're tuning in tomorrow morning as well. We are expecting those wind chills to really get their coldest between 5 and about 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, 25 to 35 degrees below zero. The reason is because even though we've said goodbye to the Arctic air, winds are going to start to pick up because we're going to be between a high pressure system and a low pressure system. So it's going to be a bit breezy. That is the reason why it is going to be as cold as it may be tomorrow morning. Winds will turn out the southwest later Monday afternoon, so not as cold on Tuesday, but still about 15 to 20 degrees below zero. We may see school delays into Tuesday as well, so just stay with News 3 Now. We'll, of course, keep you updated. Southerly winds take over later Monday, and that means our temperatures climb into those double digits Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then really climb into those 20s by the end of January into the start of February. Hanging out in those low to mid 20s is going to feel like a heat wave after what we've been through, but we're still going to be below average, but closer to seasonal for this time of year as we make our way out of this really cold air into more seasonal temperatures. We've gone from about 10 degrees above average since really the start of January through the first half. We were warmer than average. Now we're struggling to even be a tenth of a degree warmer than average. So I think we're going to finish January on the cooler than average side, at least for Madison, possibly southern Wisconsin and the rest of the state. Looking ahead into February, since it is right around the corner, I see this breaking down the weather pattern that we've been in as we get closer to the middle of February. Starting to see some warmer than average trends into western parts of Wisconsin from the 2nd through the 8th, but I think we really start to see that encompass a lot more of Wisconsin closer to the middle of February. Maybe it'll happen a little bit sooner, but I really wouldn't expect any warmer than average temperatures until the mid-February timeframe at the earliest. Until then, we're probably going to be slightly cooler than average to seasonal. What we don't see over the next 7 to 10 days is really any huge impactful snowstorms, light snow on Tuesday, and then again Sunday night into that following Monday as we kick off February. So it's just going to be quiet and cold. That's kind of it.
Anything's better than what we've had as of late. So
I don't know. I really like staying below zero for 60 hours. That was
wonderful.
Fun. Yeah, definitely let's do it again.
Next year, though.
That was a joke.
Next year. All right, Kay, what do we have coming up in sports?
Coming up next in sports, how the Badgers are doing on the court and on the ice. Next on News 3 Now.
She shoots, she scores.
And now, News 3 Now Sports, brought to you by TDS Telecom.
Today was the last time that Wisconsin women's hockey will have their entire team together. 5 players are leaving to head to Paris for the Olympics, and the team will look a lot different from what it looked like today because Kirsten Sims, who knocks this goal in, is one of the players who is headed to Italy, along with her and Caroline Harvey, who knocks one in, leaving in style, beating Benton State 6-1. For the men, after a hard-fought battle in the Kohl Center, the Badgers were swept by number 8 Penn State, and head coach Mike Hastings feels it's about picking yourself up and continuing along the journey.
It's nice when you're at the top of the pack, and as people start getting pieces of you, they're learning experiences, and we've got to keep pushing here. I mean, 4 in a row at home. Well, now that hill got a little steeper, and we'll just have to put our arms around each other and go to work on Monday and make sure that we're the best version we have to be on Friday, because Minnesota's going to be trying to do what they're doing.
And Badger basketball is back in that mode after winning 5 games in a row. They have established themselves as a team you don't want to see in the conference tournament, taking on Southern California today as John Blackwell skips through the lane and gets one to go for the Badgers. They were trailing in the beginning of this one. And then Nick Boyd, who led all Badgers in scores with 29 points, gets one to go. But this game was down to the wire as the Badgers would lose their win streak 73-71. And keeping it on the court on the women's side, they lost to Minnesota 88-53. But hopefully they can keep their streak in the Kohl Center alive as they play next week. Also, some exciting news for the Packers after losing defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley to Miami. He has been replaced with Jonathan Gannon, former Arizona Cardinals head coach, who was fired after 3 years and was a coordinator for the Eagles for 2 seasons. Jalen, I think that's the job that honestly got him, looked at by Mike LaFleur and the team. They honestly was like, you know what? The defense when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles was pretty well, so they're giving him a chance.
Even in Arizona, their defense was still pretty good. It was just injuries and issues on the offensive side where they just couldn't quite get things to mesh there. But I would say of the names that Jason Wilde had mentioned earlier in the show, Jonathan Gannon, I believe, is the only one that's been a defensive coordinator at the NFL level, even though some of the other candidates were enticing. For those that are left, I think for the piece that they have, it's really good that they were able to get him.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to see what it looks like with Michael Parsons and that team.
Yeah, well, you got Micah, Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams and company. Can't be that hard to coach those guys up.
Can't be too hard.
All right, well, sounds good. Thank you, Kay. A final check of your first one forecast is coming up when we return.
Again.
All right, guys, so we're at the end of the show, and I will say I ran out real quick to start my car.
Yes.
Because it's been absolutely freezing. I mean, what's this work week going to look like? Because I'm kind of getting tired of the cold hurting my joints.
It's going to be cold, but it will start to warm up. It is going to be a cold start to Monday. That cold weather advisory is in effect until noon because wind chill values waking up on Monday are going to likely be between 25 to 35 degrees below zero. Again, at the bottom of your screen is the latest in school closings. I encourage you to check in tomorrow morning with the morning crew. They will keep you updated as well if any come in overnight. Overnight lows dip below zero, but we are above zero by the afternoon with plenty of sunshine. Winds turn out of the southwest, which means we're into the double digits on Tuesday, where we will stay through the rest of the extended forecast and look at that 20s by next Sunday, the start of February. Little to no snow over the next 7 to 10 days. So that's also going to help really keep this ice on the thicker side as we get into the start of February.
Definitely looking forward to a bit of a warm-up, but thank you, Blaze, and thank you all for joining us. Stay warm. Seinfeld is up next. We'll see you back here tomorrow.